ship to the United States. Now it's currently 4:45 a.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas. This news coming out in just the past hour. I'm anticipating if you're not watching this live, you're likely going to see this early in the morning, and this is going to be all over the news. But let's take a look at this breaking news coming out so that way you can see it for yourself. Headlines coming out in just the past hour. Americans returning to the United States from the Hantavirus cruise ship have tested mildly positive on evacuation flight, HHS says. Now, this was one of the main concerns of experts. They were saying that right now nobody was testing positive. They thought that they were fine to quarantine in Nebraska. Now we're hearing that on the flight, on the way to the United States, 2 Americans have tested positive, and so has a French person confirming the concerns that the incubation period of 6 to 8 weeks, it is in effect. These people have shown no symptoms and not tested positive for weeks, and then on the flight to the United States, testing positive. Let's take a look at some more headlines so that way you can see it coming out from Reuters just 36 minutes ago. 1 U.S. citizen tests mildly positive for hantavirus. Another has mild symptoms. Here's another one coming out from Forbes. Just a little while ago, U.S. passenger and French woman test positive for hantavirus after evacuation from the cruise ship. Latest updates from the live feeds from Forbes. Here's another one from CNN, just coming out 52 minutes ago. So again, you can see that this is just coming out breaking news in the past hour. We're hearing this is being confirmed. American passengers from the Hantavirus hit cruise ship, including one presumed positive, arrived in Nebraska for evaluations. We're hearing that they are no longer on the cruise ship. They are in the United States, and they have tested positive. We have more cases. And in addition to that, coming out from the Associated Press, 3 passengers, French and American, test positive or have symptoms of the hantavirus after the evacuation. So we've already seen that we heard officials that said nobody was showing signs, no one was testing positive. They are clear to go. They provided the evacuation process. They flew to the United States. And now we're hearing 2 Americans have tested positive. A French person has tested positive. And now they're watching the rest of the crew from that Hantavirus ship to see who else will turn up positive. And we heard that this could happen within 6 to 8 weeks. So we might still see more cases pop up, which then raises the question, the fear, the concern that a lot of people have. What about the passengers that already got off the ship 2 weeks ago and entered the United States and have been living their lives? We're hearing that there are 2 in Houston, Texas, several in California, at least 1 in Arizona, Georgia, Virginia, and there's concerns that it has already spread to people being watched in New Jersey, and now we know there are 2 new cases that have arrived on that plane in Nebraska. And again, they're asking the question, people are starting to let their guard down, saying they're not showing any signs. We don't think that they're going to pass it around. Now the concern is they have tested positive, and is this going to spread even further? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As I mentioned, it's currently now 4:49 a.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas. I'm anticipating that a lot of people are going to see this in the morning. This is going to be all over the news. And we're hearing there are now new positive cases, and they are in the United States. So I'm going to dive into these articles. I'm looking for video footage. It's not even out on any videos yet, and it's starting to roll out here in the past hour across the news media outlets. I'm going to dive right in. If you'd like to read these articles for yourself, they're hyperlinked in the description. I cite all the sources. If you appreciate the updates, please take a second, hit the thumbs up, like button for me, help spread this out further across the YouTube platform while we're live. In addition to that, to stay up to date, as you guys know, if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. It's totally free. I'll keep you up to speed on everything. Well, with that being said, let's go and take a look at some of these articles coming out so that way you can get the latest. Today, May 11, 2026, it's currently 4:50 a.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas. 3 passengers, a French and American, test positive or have symptoms for the hantavirus after evacuations. Now, this article says a French woman and 2 Americans tested positive or showed symptoms of hantavirus Monday as nations around the world scramble to repatriate passengers from a cruise ship hit by an outbreak and quarantine or isolate them. Passengers from the ship began flying home aboard military and government planes Sunday after the vessel anchored in the Canary Islands. Personnel in full body protective gear and breathing masks had escorted the travelers from the ship to shore in Tenerife in an effort that was continuing on Monday. The French woman tested positive for Hantavirus and her health worsened in the hospital overnight. French Health Minister Stephanie Rist said Monday that the woman was among 5 French passengers repatriated Sunday to Paris from the MV Hantavirus. She developed symptoms on the flight to Paris, Rist told public broadcaster France Intour. And so we're hearing the same thing happen with the Americans on the flight to the United States. They begin to show signs and tested positive. And we actually heard from an expert yesterday that said his concern is that this will mutate or change or become something that we are not prepared for. And we actually heard some experts saying the U.S. is not prepared for this if that unfolds. And we're hearing that right now. These cases are popping up early this morning. Now, one of the 17 American passengers evacuated from the ship and flown to Nebraska also tested positive for the hantavirus, but is not showing any symptoms. And another person has mild symptoms. So that's 2 U.S. passengers that now they're saying are in Nebraska that are testing positive or showing symptoms. U.S. health officials said late on Sunday. Now, the flight landed in the early hours of Monday morning and stopped near awaiting buses and police vehicles. The Americans would first be taken to the University of Nebraska Medical Center, which has a federally funded quarantine facility to assess whether they have been in close contact with any symptomatic people and their risk levels for spreading the virus. One passenger will be transported to the Nebraska Biocontainment Unit upon arrival, while other passengers will go to the National Quarantine Unit for assessment and monitoring. The passenger who is going to the Biocontainment Unit tested positive for the virus but does not have symptoms, said Kayla Thomas, a spokesperson for the Nebraska Medicine Hospital that will help care for the passengers. The medical school also has a special unit for treating people with highly infectious diseases that was used early in the pandemic for COVID-19 patients and previously for Ebola patients. The World Health Organization recommended close monitoring of the former passengers, and many countries quarantined them. Earlier, officials from the Spanish Health Ministry, the World Health Organization, and the cruise company Oceanwide Expeditions had said none of the more than 140 people who were then on the Hantavirus had shown symptoms of the virus. And this is the concern, again, the incubation period. They can show no signs, and then 1 month, 2 months later, they can suddenly show signs, be showing symptoms, and be contagious. All of the passengers were escorted Sunday from the ship to shore by personnel in full body protective gear and breathing masks. The planes arriving in Tenerife were to fly out passengers from more than 20 countries in an evacuation effort that was running into Monday. 3 people have died since the outbreak began, and 5 people who left the ship earlier were infected. Health officials say the risk to the public is low. Let me know in the comments. Is this reassuring to you? Yes or no? We keep hearing them say, don't worry. This is not going to be the next pandemic. We've got this under control. There is no need for panic. Yet we're hearing, though, that the mortality rate on this is 40%. Almost 1 out of 2 people that contract this will not survive. And there currently is no vaccine. There is no way to combat this. They can only treat some of your symptoms or the things that are affecting you, but they can't combat this virus. And I shared with you yesterday, we're hearing that Moderna right now is racing to create some sort of vaccine, some sort of cure. But this is an mRNA virus. And again, the concern with that is its ability to mutate and to change and shift, just like we saw with COVID-19. Now, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has stressed that the general public should not be worried about this outbreak. This is not another COVID, and the risk to the public is low. So they shouldn't be scared, and they shouldn't panic, he said Sunday. Again, let me know. Does this give you any reassurance? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. Hantavirus usually spreads from rodent droppings and is not easily transmitted between people. But this Hantavirus variant detected on the cruise ship outbreak is able to spread between people in rare cases. Now, he said it may be able to spread. However, we now have confirmed that it is spreading and it is going from person to person. Symptoms usually show between 1 and 8 weeks after exposure, and that is the issue right there. 8 weeks, that's 2 months. You could be exposed to this, and then 2 months later, you could start showing symptoms and never knew that you had it. WHO is recommending that passengers' home countries have active monitoring and follow-up, which means daily health checks either at home or in specialized facilities. Numerous countries have said that their people will be quarantined or hospitalized for observation. Australia is sending a plane expected to arrive on Monday to evacuate its people, and those from nearby countries such as New Zealand and unspecified Asian countries, said Spanish Health Minister Monica Garcia, who added that the evacuation flight was expected to be the last to leave Tenerife.